Oh, hi, Susie.
Hi.
How's it going?
Not too bad. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm great. Hey, do you know where Angelica is?
I know. The question is, do we care?
No.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Thank you for joining me here for Conversations with Taz. And it's the Monday mix-up. It used to be Monday Mayhem, but people were getting a little confused about what the mayhem was. So today we're going to break down everything that happened over the weekend and earlier today. First of all, let's start out with my condolences to the victims of the Catholic elementary school shooting in Nashville, Tennessee. And I do believe that a day before, at another school, there was a car that ran. There was no one there, of course, but there was a car that crashed into the front of that school. So my condolences go out to that family, and hopefully there will be some answers and some legislation to keep everyone safe, especially our most precious citizens, those that are minors. Now, the biggest story to hit the airwaves this weekend was the unfortunate arrest of Jonathan Majors. Now, we're not going to spend a lot of time on this because, as I tell y'all all the time, sometimes you need to just learn how to sit back, be patient, and watch and get all of the information. So before y'all come at me going, well, Taz, you didn't say anything on your other platforms over the weekend. Because first of all, TMZ broke the story. Second of all, we had no photos, no evidence, no nothing. And then whoop, whoop, what came out? So we're going to play these 3 videos. There's a trio of videos, talk about it slightly. If you want to know the rest of my thoughts on it, as always, check the links in the description of this video. I wrote a lovely blog on my thoughts on it, and y'all can go take a look. Well, let's get into it. Y'all know how we do. I'll see you in 2 and 2.
False allegations must be a trend this year. So Jonathan Majors was just recently arrested because girlfriend claimed after she looked in his phone, he went to strangle her and basically physically harm her. Well, the police have just found out that that was a lie. Not only she admitted both of her allegations were completely false, witnesses and dashcam footage show that he never once laid his hands on her and she was lying. And the only reason NYPD arrested him was because he caused their quote-unquote emotional crisis. I would have said just break up with her, but she just cost him 2 commercial deals. They literally dropped him because of these allegations. So you mess with that boy money. So most definitely, I don't know who he date, most definitely she got to get sued. Millions and dollars of endorsements gone down the drain because your girlfriend was mad at you about something. Yeah, that's wild. Nah, ain't no justification for that. Lock her up.
Here's what's going on with Jonathan Majors. Police sources tell ABC News that it was actually Majors himself who called 911 to report, quote, a concern about his girlfriend. And we've learned that they live together in an apartment here in Manhattan. But those same police sources say that when officers arrived, Majors' girlfriend told a different story. She said that they were in a cab together and that he physically attacked her. According to the criminal complaint, this 30-year-old woman says that Majors struck her in the face with an open hand, causing her substantial pain and a laceration behind her ear. The complaint then goes on to say that Majors bruised her hand and put his hand on her neck, causing her bruising and substantial pain. Major's lawyer also released a statement saying that he did not assault her whatsoever and that he is innocent and provably the victim. She says they are collecting evidence, including statement from witnesses and video footage to prove his innocence. It's not clear at this time if these allegations will hurt his career, but the U.S. Army has said that they are pulling ads featuring the actor until the investigation is over. Majors is due back in court May 8th.
Some of y'all about to get sued. Some of y'all are about to get sued. Now look, I got the same alert that you did when the news of Jonathan Majors' arrest became public. And when I saw that it was from TMZ, I made a decision to wait until more details of the case became clear. But you didn't. Most content creators went into play reporter mode and started the nasty work of slander and rumor repetition. Most, not all. Few of you were actually very fair and objective in how you shared the facts of the case, but not enough of you did. And when this lesser known actor came out to bash this black man and support claims of this man being violent, aggressive, combative, too many of you people who look just like me were quick to jump on his bandwagon. Some of you are the same people attacking this man now for being violent and aggressive. Just last week, you were attacking him for being too feminine and too soft because he did this photo shoot. But now that we know it was Majors who called the police and that his girlfriend will allegedly recant her story and that there is also alleged footage of the altercation that will clear Majors of wrongdoing, you should recant your nasty work and take those videos down until the true facts of the case are known. If Majors was abusive, he most certainly should experience the full consequences of his actions. But as a Mississippi native, the state where Emmett Till lost his life based on false allegations, I, like my good sister Tabitha here, needed to see more before I dared open these succulent lips of mine.
Now, if you follow me in this channel in particular, if you know me from any other of my platforms, you know my biggest thing that I tell people all the time, and I tell y'all, when y'all want to message me, why haven't you spoken on this? Sit back and wait and watch. Because look at the big oopsies people made with the Amber Heard Johnny Depp case. Look at the big oopsies and the crow folks had to eat when it came down to Tory Lanez and Meg Thee Stallion. So like I said, check the links in the description of this video. I wrote a blog. If you've never read my blog before, let me explain something to you. Yes, I give my opinion, but I also link in the facts and the articles so that you can also do your own research and you can read for yourself. You can agree with me, you can disagree, that's all fine, but the information is getting out there. And even when I do just 100% opinion piece that's not about anything in the news, there's also links within that as well, so you can understand the terms that are being used, or if I'm talking about a particular portion of history. But stop being so quick to believe mess, because when you are quick to believe mess, that means you've been sitting on the sidelines waiting for a reason to hate somebody. I don't care if they're famous, infamous, or just a regular old Joe Schmo. We see it every day in real life and on social media, where it doesn't matter what evidence, what receipts somebody pulls up. Somebody could stand in front of a screenshot of a text message, and all the text message says is, hey, why you mad at me? And a person will sit there and be like, yeah, see, they threatened me, blah, 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 blah. And if you already hate the person who sent the text message, you gonna believe it. What did we learn from Shamiran Nessa, aka the Overload Comedy, this past month? But since Mr. Majors is a black man, there was a question. Well, there's a question that is consistently posed to the black community. I don't know if it's posed to other communities. I belong to the black community. That was impeccably answered. So I'm going to play that for you right now. Pay attention.
Will black people ever be able to be self-sufficient or independent? This question is obviously racist, but I will answer it as if it was asked in good faith. First of all, before emancipation, black people created the necessary infrastructure for their independence and self-sufficiency. In the year 1738, the first free black town was established in Mosey, Florida, which means that there was a free black town before there was a United States of America. The first black-owned media company, a newspaper, was established in 1827. All of this was before emancipation. Black towns and neighborhoods saved and circulated millions of dollars within their communities, like the Greenwood District in Tulsa, Oklahoma, North Nashville in Tennessee, Sweet Auburn in Atlanta, and countless others. There is a list way too long to fit into this video. And do you know what happened to those thriving, independent, self-sufficient communities? They were attacked by white folks. They were bombed. They were raided. They were terrorized. They were demolished. These independent, self-sufficient black communities were fine and had existed for a very long time. The real question is, will whiteness ever ever be able to be self-sufficient and independent without Black oppression.
Now, see, I want to add on to this because racist white people, or just people who don't realize that they're racist, always bring up this question as if Black people, like our history began and ended with chattel slavery. Like we were just in suspended animation all over the globe, specifically on the continent of Africa, before being kidnapped and pirated. But my question is, when will whiteness be able to thrive without Blackness? Think about it. Because white ancestry kidnapped Black people and forced them into chattel slavery and breeding, but couldn't learn the African languages. So taught English to those that were enslaved so that our ancestors could translate for them. Couldn't wash themselves and couldn't understand why there were so many plagues and why their life expectancy was so minimal. If you think I'm joking, look up the history as to why the month of June is traditionally labeled the wedding month, or why a certain king had 2 booty holes. But I digress. This is why Thomas Edison had to have the Edison 8. This is why science, and specifically the science of medicine, needed Black women, down to ourselves. So when is the white community going to be able to thrive on their own? Because non-white countries didn't have the Dark Ages. Now, before we get into the rest of the shenanigans of the week, we'll get into the shenanigans of the weekend. Let's talk about The Rock, aka Dwayne Johnson, killing yet another franchise. And if you don't know what I mean by that, we'll discuss it further after this clip.
I'm not surprised by this at all. A Hollywood insider reportedly believes The Rock harmed DC with his refusal to associate with Shazam. By alienating the property that his character was born out of, and that's very key, and refusing to integrate with other established characters, he systematically crippled 2 franchises. That is some crazy stuff. And we know this is true based off The Rock's social media post, and after Black Adam came out, all those reports came out about how he just didn't want to connect at all to Shazam. And that first line, by alienating the property that his character was born out of, is key, because literally if it wasn't for Shazam, he wouldn't have this character to play with, but he wanted to establish Black Adam on his own without the connection to Shazam, which to me, I think it hurts both. Imagine if Shazam 2 introduced Black Adam and then we got Black Adam. Would that have made a difference in terms of Shazam's 2 box office and then The Rock's Black Adam box office? Potentially, who knows?
Those of us that are over 35 years old, we know. Because Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's career took off because Brendan Fraser's career was destroyed. The Mummy franchise was destroyed because, once again, the villain of the movie, the Scorpion King, The Rock, wanted to make all about him and make it its own franchise. And what happened? Both franchises folded. He doesn't want to share the spotlight. He wants to play the villain, but he wants to be the villain that can stand alone in its own universe. Like, bruh, you don't have the range to play the Joker. And it's like, if you wanted so much to go up against Henry Cavill's Superman, you should have played Lex Luthor. It's well within your range. You would have just been playing yourself. And previously, when I told people, when I heard that he was taking on the role of Black Adam, I said he should play Lex Luthor. And people were like, are you serious? He should. Yes, he should. Tell me in what capacity outside of intellect where he is not Lex Luthor. And he wants to be able to have standalone movies and wants to be able to exist in a universe without the superhero of which his character was born to antagonize. Lex Luthor. Because Lex Luthor has a whole backstory, just as does the Joker. Lex Luthor can carry a storyline. Lex Luthor comes in and out of the life of Superman. Now, things should have gone like this. First of all, they shouldn't have messed up Shazam, the first movie, and they should have kept it closer to the comics, but they didn't. So here we are. Black Adam should have been introduced through Shazam 2. Then the Black Adam movie should have come out. There should have been no end credit homage to Superman. But the ego does what the ego does. And going from one huge out of control ego to the next, don't y'all just love my segues? We have Donald John Trump Sr. It always bothered me that he never goes by as senior or the first, given that he has a never mind. But remember I told y'all that he was planning on having a rally in Waco, Texas, on the anniversary of the whole Branch Davidian showdown. Let's get into how that went. We have to break this down in parts because let's just go.
I want my money back. I didn't authorize any money to Ukraine to some homosexual weirdo. I didn't authorize any money to Ukraine to some homosexual weirdo.
1978. His girlfriend was too young and he couldn't marry her, so he had to get custody of her from her parents. As a homosexual weirdo, I've never had to get custody of one of my girlfriends. They're all grown-ass adults.
Back. I didn't authorize any money to Ukraine to some homosexual weirdo.
Homosexual weirdos, huh? You know, I can't think of any homosexuals I know that adopted their underage boyfriend or girlfriend and became their legal guardian in order to screw them and be in a relationship with them because it was illegal. Oh, wait, that was you, Ted Nugent. Yeah. Every unfounded accusation is just an admission. Pedophile. And all those protect the children people in the crowd cheering them on. Anyways, bye.
Now, given how racist Ted Nugent is, like overtly racist, President Zelensky of the Ukraine is married to a woman. Now, I don't know if in other aspects he's a part of the LGBTQIA plus community. Not my business. I don't care. I respect the man for the stance that he takes and the fact that he puts his money where his mouth is and stands on the front line right along with his people. Unlike Bone Spurs McGee that everybody was there to see. But Ted, you and Jagger have way too much in common. And if you don't know, Google is free. But let's continue on with this rally stuff.
So Donald Trump held his first rally of 2023 in Waco, Texas. Here's some of the highlights.
We will support baby bonuses, so many people like that, for the new baby boom that will be coming. We need babies. All of this is...
More babies? I hope he means all babies, right?
Hope place was laughing. They're laughing at our country. We don't want anyone to laugh. Nobody laughed at our country when I ran it, I can tell you that.
The entire world laughed. And it wasn't at America.
Today I stand before the United Nations General Assembly to share the extraordinary progress we've made. In less than 2 years, my administration has accomplished more than almost any administration in the history of our country. America's so true. Didn't expect that reaction, but that's okay. They've been very loyal, but I'm a loyalist. And when a man comes to me, tears in his eyes, he's at almost nothing in the polls. And he's fighting somebody that's at 42, and he's got almost $30 million in the bank. He's at almost nothing. He's got no cash. And I said, I can't give you an endorsement. There's no way you can win. You're dead. But he fought a little bit, like 150. He was certainly no Jim Jordan, that I can tell you. He fought a little bit, just a little bit, on impeachment hoax number 1, impeachment hoax number 2, meaning on television, because I didn't know him very well. But I saw him, so he came and he really wanted. I said, you can't win, can you? How do you can win? Sir, if you endorse me, I'll win. Please. Please, sir, endorse me. And I said, all right, let's give it a shot, because honestly, the Secretary of Agriculture.
I love it. The DeSantis-Trump battle is going to be so good. Pure entertainment.
I said, should I do it or not? And I did it. And you know what? I aced it. Got them all right. Every single time. Some of them are tough. And you know, it was after that that nobody called me stupid anymore. It was very good. Because I never liked that narrative. I don't like the word stupid, but other people are very stupid.
Sure, Donald. Nobody called you stupid anymore.
I called Ted Cruz's office, and I told them that if they don't start speaking up for Donald Trump, that when I go to vote, I'm going to vote for President Trump alone and walk away.
I urge you tonight, go check out the main characteristics of fascism. One of the things you will see is a cult of personality, where you have a leader that is infallible. And we clearly see that with MAGA. Now, Donald Trump being the nominee in 2024 would only hasten the destruction of the GOP and possibly bring our country back from the precipice that we are currently standing on.
If we had full control, that would be the greatest. And you know, here's what we know about President Trump. President Trump has a list of names. And no one else has that. Ron DeSantis doesn't have that. Nikki Haley or whoever she is, she doesn't have anything like that. No one else knows how to clean out the swamp like President Trump.
So she mispronounced DeSantis's name, but it wasn't like a burn. It's like she just didn't know how to say it. Then she says Nikki Haley, whoever she is. You know her name. You just said her name. You know who she is. And finally, what swamp? What names? Who did he eliminate? He created the swamp. Like, you exist. I'm really going to need someone to point me in the direction of one person that this man eliminated by cleaning the swamp.
Marjorie Taylor Greene just admitted that Donald Trump has a hit list. Well, that kind of explains why his attorneys are willing to risk it all to protect him. Let's take a look.
Yeah. I will tell you, having looked at the evidence in this case, that there's been no violations of the law by our client.
But Drew, you have
innocent.
to. I appreciate
can just tell
that,
you, I have the same level of passion.
But you're not the judge or the jury in this case. You're the lawyer. We're talking to you not for your conclusions without evidence, but for the evidence you can marshal right now. I'm giving you the time. If you can't do it tonight, if you can't give us any arguments, then we will note that. But let me put up on the screen again for your rebuttal, if you want to take this time, election fraud in Georgia. If you request or attempt to cause another person to engage in voter fraud, that's criminal solicitation. If you conspire or agree with another to commit a violation, that is another Georgia statute. Those are both felonies. Those are just two, and there are, as you know, others. Donald Trump, post December 14th, I'll give you the widest possible berth that before it's certified, there are arguments that could be theoretically made about alternate electors. But post December 14th, he's on tape doing it. We have a new call we learned about in the last week demanding it. How is that not soliciting or conspiring fraud?
My team is familiar with all those statutes. And while I'm looking at this, camera, I could tell you we're incredibly familiar with those statutes. They aren't new to us. We do a lot of political cases.
Sure.
We are absolutely confident, having looked at the evidence, that our client has not violated any of those. We're not going to look at it two-dimensionally. We're going to look at it three-dimensionally.
What did he mean when he said fine?
And he's completely innocent.
But what did he mean when he said find votes that don't exist after certification? What could that possibly mean other than find votes that don't exist?
Looking at the entire 62 minutes, putting it all in context, there was nothing illegal said by our client. Nothing. And so anybody that wants to listen to 62 minutes will know that that was a perfectly legal phone call.
It's personal. It's personal funds. That is not what Michael Cohen pled guilty to. This was funds where he was repaid by the Trump organization. Trump signed the checks.
No,
one of them that was there. So you call it personal funds. It is in a court of law. It's been proven that it was Trump organization funds.
It's personal funds. It was not funds related to the campaign. That's the distinction.
But he used a Trump organization check.
Not campaign finance laws. But Chuck, that's personal. That's personal. It has nothing to do.
So everything with the Trump organization is Donald Trump the person? I mean, you realize the door you're opening there.
Seriously, what would he put in his personal ledger? Payment for hush money to quiet an affair that I claim I never had, so my family doesn't get embarrassed. Is that what he should put in his ledger? If there's nothing wrong with
how about the truth?
You want your ledger.
You keep saying what should be in the ledger.
Chuck.
Should it be the truth?
Chuck.
When you find the smallest town that you could find and you go to their thrift shop, that's where Trump is now getting these attorneys. He's going to jail. He is going to jail. They have run out of lies that they're now having to tell the truth. Kind of, sort of. And it's not looking good for him because it's not saying, oh, he didn't pay him. What was he supposed to put in the ledger? These are personal funds. Business funds are not personal funds. We have a lot of political clients. We are very familiar with these statutes. But none of your arguments. Okay. All right. Now, also, if you peruse the parameters of my blog, I discussed the latest Trump grift. You know, when Trump himself claimed that he was going to be arrested last Tuesday. Here's the result.
Oh my God.
And here's the latest Trump news.
After calling for the arrest of pretty much every official that has an open investigation against him, Donald Trump has published another very, very troublesome post on Truth Social. This time, I would say way more troublesome than the previous one. This one is a 1 a.m. post where, after rambling on for lines and lines about the current situation and the open investigations against him, he actually ends up using these two words as a consequence for a potential charge against him. This is not really something that I can joke about. This is something that I consider a very serious potential dog whistle to what could be some of his most dangerous base.
See, he had already had one failed self coup. He's going for another one. He's going for another one. He wants to be in power by any means necessary, and he wants to be the United States version of Putin. And he is setting himself up with his language, his body language, with everything to rile up his base. Now, will it be to the magnitude of January 6th? Probably not, because when he called for protest, most of his base are keyboard warriors at this point, because they're all over social media proclaiming that the vast majority of the military will fight on their side should there be a second civil war, and the South will rise again. The South never rose, okay? It burnt itself out. But before we continue, let's get into the ad. I'll see you in 2 and 2. Y'all know how we do.
Greetings, I am Edmonia Lewis, a pioneering artist who lived from 1844 to 1907. I was one of the first Black, Haitian, and Native American women to achieve international recognition for my sculpting work. My most famous work, The Death of Cleopatra, is a powerful depiction of a woman who refused to be conquered by her oppressors. I faced discrimination and prejudice throughout my life, but persevered and created exquisite sculptures that celebrated my heritage. My works were displayed in galleries and museums across the globe, and I was widely regarded as one of the most talented sculptors of my time. My work inspires others to stand up against injustice and fight for equality, to break down barriers and create beauty in the world.
As I always tell you, the more you know. Now, before we move on to some other updates, we can see the racism in Hollywood now, but a lot of times the racism of yesteryear is ignored because a lot of you all don't realize some of the iconic pinup girls or movie stars of the day were actually Black, brown, indigenous people of color. Take a look.
Yeah, when they see me, they salute to have a juku. Some pink pumps, pink th-
You do realize that was because of racism, right? Rita Hayworth, the old Hollywood actress you were talking about, was pressured by the men in her life to get painful electrolysis to laser off her hairline, which they said made her look too ethnic and exotic. Before that, Rita was only cast in quote-unquote exotic roles, like gypsy dancer or Egyptian woman. Because her father's side was Romani from Spain, Hollywood racism forced her to whitewash this part of her identity. Surgery to appear more Eurocentric, and changing her name from Margarita Carmen Cancino to Rita Hayworth, using her Irish-American mother's last name. Much better reasons to be proud of your natural features, because they're Eurocentric beauty standards. Old Hollywood actresses had to whitewash themselves to fit.
Now, since we left off at Trump before the break, let's go to his arch nemesis, DeSantis.
My God, this may be the cringiest thing Ron DeSantis has ever said.
What is your favourite nickname that Trump's given you so far? Is it Ron DeSanctimonious or Meatball Ron?
Well, I can't.
I think even he went off Meatball Ron.
I can't. I don't know how to spell DeSanctimonious. I don't really know what it means, but I kind of like it's long. It's got a lot of vowels. I mean, so we go with that. That's fine. You can call me whatever you want. I mean, just as long as you also call me a winner.
Yeah, DeSantis went to Yale and Harvard. He knows how to spell the word sanctimonious. But because he thinks his base is stupid and he wants to relate to them, he's pretending that he's an idiot. If that is not the biggest slap in the face to his own voters, I don't know what is. I said it before and I'll say it again. No one has more contempt for their own supporters than Republicans.
Well, that was quick. His entire advanced team quit. Now he wants metal detectors everywhere. And now his donors and allies are fleeing him. Wow. Wow. Maybe he can pick up boot modeling.
Now as I was watching the news, flipping back and forth between the Gwyneth Paltrow trial, a webinar, and the news today, I noticed that Ron DeSantis does a lot of the same motions as Trump. Yeah, this is one of those times he boy bossed too close to the sun. See, being stupid worked for Trump because he is stupid. His niece put out a book telling us all who actually did his classwork and his homework. You went to Yale. You published a book that you actually wrote yourself, Ronnie boy. But I guess now it's time to check in with the Idaho murder case.
Breaking news Friday, March 24th. The university has announced that the home on 1122 King Road is no longer considered a crime scene. They also stated that the title has been transferred 100% to the university and they now own the home outright. A letter was recently produced to the victims' families letting them know that they can come and retrieve the remaining belongings in the home. They said once this is done, they plan on demolishing the home. You may remember they started the initial process of removal, however, that was halted on December 30th when Koberger was arrested. I'll keep you guys updated. What do you think? Drop in the comments.
Just to let you know, there are students that have been interviewed from the school that say that they are glad that the house will be demolished. They hope that it's demolished after the trial in case any additional evidence needs to be collected, but the families are going to be able to come in and collect the belongings of their loved ones. So the scene will now be contaminated if they have not collected all the evidence, which I'm pretty sure that they would before sending out a letter. And they're hoping that once demolished, something will be erected that will bring positivity to the community. Now, another thing that has been a hot topic, especially over the weekend because of media coverage and how the media coverage flip-flop, And once again, if you want to know my full thoughts on this, check the links in the description of this video. Once again, it's the TikTok ban. Let's get into it.
Many of you have suggested Mark Zuckerberg and his Meta Empire apps, Facebook and Instagram, are possibly behind the TikTok ban. A simple Google search reveals that indeed Meta spent over $20 million last year alone on hired lobbyists to discredit TikTok to government leaders in DC, spending nearly 4 times more money on lobbying than TikTok itself. Meta not only schmoozed congressional leaders, but attempted to discredit and undermine TikTok and its parent company ByteDance with a targeted national media campaign, placing op-eds and letters to the editor in major regional news outlets, promoting dubious stories about alleged TikTok trends that actually originated on Facebook. The very thing that they're pointing out to be dangerous security risks from TikTok are the exact practices Instagram and Facebook have been doing on their platforms, selling data collected through app permissions to any global entity willing to purchase them. Today, TikTok owner Show released a video suggesting that half of the American population, some 150 million users, regularly engage with content on the app on a daily basis. Show is in town trying to calm fears of data breaches to DC pundits. So yes, it's true, Meta is very much behind not only funding the TikTok ban, but spending millions on a smear campaign to discredit TikTok to the American people. What I simply cannot understand is how Mark Zuckerberg thinks that somehow TikTok's ban and its 150 million users will flock over to Instagram and Facebook. I suppose if even a fraction of that figure would, it would somehow be a win for the failing metaverse. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Like, share, and follow me for more on the possible TikTok ban.
This is so true. There are so many headlines this morning from major news networks that are completely opposite of what we're seeing on TikTok and really celebrating how Congress did yesterday. So the comment is from a video with this representative that I shared if you want to watch it. She was asking him about Tiananmen Square and whether or not you can find Tiananmen Square content on TikTok, knowing that Tiananmen Square is bad press for China and something that we were really kind of raised in the United States to understand as a mark of why communism is bad. So if there was not Tiananmen Square content on TikTok, it could be argued that the Chinese government may have influenced that in some way. But there is, and so he was like, yeah, that content is available. And then she threatens him and is like, well, if you lie to Congress or you say anything misleading, that is a federal crime. But she said it very harshly, like, let me remind you, sir. And he's like, yeah, no, I understand, and that content is still available on our platform. Mind you, she could have just fucking Googled it, man. Or she could have had an intern hop on TikTok and look up Tiananmen Square, and she would have saved herself the question because they only get so much time and so much questions. So like, it just shows they're going for the sound bites. So let's go ahead and play the headlines that came out of that. Rep tells TikTok CEO lying to Congress is a federal crime during Tiananmen Square discussion. If you did not watch that hearing, that seems pretty damning. Like, good job, Congress. Death and despair. House Republican throws down with TikTok CEO in scorched earth opening. Both of these are about this woman, Kathy McMorris Rogers. If you Google her, you'll see that's where I found those headlines, and there's plenty of others. I did not pick her for any specific reason other than when I saw this line of questioning, it just stood out to me as so black and white of being threatening and then also trying to trap him. But I mean, honestly, she wasn't the dumbest one out there. She wasn't asking about Wi-Fi. But while we're talking about Kathy, let's have a little fun. So Open Secrets is a resource that you can access online. It's nonpartisan, independent, and it's a nonprofit that collects all of the data that is publicly available that campaigns must disclose by law. And it gives you some really nice charts and really kind of breaks down like which super PACs, which companies are donating to different candidates. All right, so main menu, click on interest groups, political action committees, or PACs. And then there is a filter for sections, and we're going to choose top recipients of PAC money. And guess who's number one? Kathy. Kathy collected $3.3 million. And you know what? All the politicians are doing it. Democrat, Republican, Independent. So it's really great that we have this resource. So have a little fun, look some stuff up. You can see which companies belong to which super PACs, which PACs are donating to which candidates. It's a little bit nuanced. It is a government-funded website. Or it's not government-funded. It's just a nonprofit, so it's not the best. But lots of data on there. So go find some facts.
I want to say this to all the teenagers out there and then TikTok influencers who think we're just old and out of touch and don't know what we're talking about, trying to take away your favorite app. You may not care that your data is being accessed now, but it will be one day when you do care about it.
Dan Crenshaw looked you dead in the eye and told you two things. One, that the Congress people running this country aren't old and outdated, to which I would point to Exhibit A.
Can you say with 100% certainty that TikTok does not use the phone's camera to determine whether the content that elicits a pupil dilation should be amplified by the algorithm?
We do not collect body, face, or voice data to identify our users. The only face data that you will get, that we collect, is when you use the filters to have, say, sunglasses on your face. We need to know where your eyes are.
Why do you need to know what the eyes are if you're not seeing if they're dilated?
And the data is stored on your local device and deleted after use. If you
I have a TikTok app on my phone, and my phone is on my home Wi-Fi network. Does TikTok access that network?
it will have to access the network to get connections to the internet, if that's the question.
Is it possible then that it could access other devices on that home Wi-Fi network?
Congressman, we do not do anything that is beyond any industry.
This pirate moonlighting as a Congress member also tells you that he's protecting the youth with these hearings, and I'm just like, you can't even protect kids from AR-15s after a mass school shooting. The fuck you worry about a 15-second video? Like, for fuck's sake, half this country has an aneurysm whenever we try to give kids free school lunches and put tampons in the girls' bathroom. The fuck do you really care about kids in this country? Like, I get it, the Facebook and Meta paycheck is really big, and you're just like repeating talking points from Zuckerberg, but like, who the fuck do you think you're fooling?
TikTok, blow this up. Well, Mark Zuckerberg spreads all of his lies about TikTok, hoping that we will come back to Facebook and Meta. And Congress people are lying about posts, screaming about how Chinese apps are dangerous to our children and America. Getter, the right-wing propaganda social media platform, is owned by China. Breaking news! I have a confused. Republicans, if you are so worried about national security, why do you use Getter? Indicted Chinese exile controls Getter, a social media site, and the ex-employee just gave them proof. China controls the conservative social media platform Getter and used it to promote cryptocurrencies propaganda. What? But wait, there's more! Over varying periods, Banner War Rooms podcast received $50,000. It was the largest sum of 18 payment streams listed in... Bannon, of course, didn't respond, but there's more. Turning Points USA, Dinesh D'Souza, Jack Pospiec, Tommy Robinson all received money from him too. Diamond and Silk got money from him, and Andy Nguyen.
If you get up at a decent time,
we're just gonna move on to Bobert news because I've been told y'all all of this.
Now, does everyone know what the term hypocrisy is? Let me show you an example. Lauren Boebert, of course. I'm living the American dream. I came up from welfare, standing in line waiting for government cheese, to now running for Congress. Let's keep radical socialists out of government. She benefited from the social programs that are there to help people that don't have enough. And yet now she's saying, let's keep radical socialists out of government. Do you see the hypocrisy?
Now, do you see the hypocrisy of not just Lauren Boebert, but the conservative MAGA has? Oh, I'm sorry. She said that she's an ultra MAGA Republican. She grew up on socialist programs. She stated that she's living the American dream. Now she wants to eliminate social programs. That's on par for the United States. That's very on par for the United States. You climb the ladder and then burn the ladder down for anybody else. Now, Lauren Boebert was a part of a recent visit to a jail to visit January 6th folks will enter I don't know why I can't say it tonight. Insurrectionists that they previously told us were Black Lives Matter and Antifa, where Antifa is just an ideology, but I digress. That they were plants, then said that these people were peacefully protesting. But let's get into the hypocrisy behind the visit.
Members that only really wanted to get to the January 6ers. That's all they really cared about. They didn't care about the people that are consistently being incarcerated here and the treatment that they get. These people are in single cells. Have y'all ever watched any movies, right? When people go to jail, what happens? They're in what we call general population, right? Like there's a group of people. They have their own cells. They have access to laptops and tablets. I mean, it's unlike anything that I've ever seen. And like I said, coming out of Texas, I have seen so much worse. They even have, it's two kind of separate facilities. The facility the January 6ers are in, that is the newest facility that they have. That facility was built in the 90s.
We have people who've had their not even been able to have a bond hearing yet. We're now 25 months later. This is a violation of constitutional rights, constitutional principles. Look, people can have disagreements about what happened on January 6th. People could want to see the justice system actually work. But constitutional rights have to be protected for all Americans. You don't get to pick and choose based upon your political viewpoints. You don't get to be very rude and a jerk.
You have to do a
because
demand
of your
for
political
jury.
viewpoints.
That's what.
Let's not forget that a few weeks ago, I brought to y'all a story where Byron Donalds, the last person you heard speak, admitted that he was once incarcerated. So he understands how things go and how things work. And as a Black man, when incarcerated, he was treated as a Black man. How many Black folks, Black, brown, Indigenous people of color, have sat in jail without a bond hearing? Now, I don't recall anybody from January 6th who has not had their bond hearing, who has not been successfully indicted and convicted due to evidence because they were rounded up because of footage they put out on the internet or because of friends or family members turning them over. And then various footage putting them there and them just pleading guilty. But they are in jail, upset that they have to take turns cleaning, take turns painting, the normal behavior of incarceration. But they have tablets and cell phones and are in regular contact with their family. I can tell you several places where folks that are incarcerated would love to have that same treatment. Because let's not forget the QAnon shaman who got a whole special diet while incarcerated. And then Insurrection Barbie, who chronicled her days going up and looked at it as a weight loss opportunity. Ooh, child. But y'all, let's close out the night because I do, if you've been watching this, I do suffer from allergies. And over the years, people have asked me why I don't use certain over-the-counter medications. It's because I listen to medical professionals. So here's a medical professional to tell you 5 that you should not use. Pay attention, y'all.
Here are 5 of the worst allergy medications that you can get without a prescription, and this is based on their relative effectiveness and side effect profile. I'm a board-certified allergist, so if you want to learn more about allergies, go ahead and hit that follow button to learn more. At number 5, we have Visine, which is tetrahydrozoline hydrochloride, and any medication that has ozolene at the end of it for an eye drop can constrict blood vessels at the eyes to reduce redness, and that's a temporary effect, but over time you can get a rebound redness and you can end up having worse symptoms. Medications like Zatador and Pataday are much better eye drops to treat allergic conjunctivitis. At number 4, we have pseudoephedrine that's known as Sudafed, which is an oral decongestant, which can be effective to treat congestion in a short-term basis, but there are a lot of contraindications to this medication because it can theoretically increase your blood pressure. It also can cause people to feel dizzy, nervous, irritable, restless. You can even get headaches from this medication as well. At number 3, we have Afrin nasal spray, also known as oxymetazoline, which is a nasal decongestant. And the reason why I put this ahead of Sudafed is because if you use this for more than 3 days at a time, you could end up having something called rhinitis medicamentosa, which is basically rebound congestion. And people can become dependent on this medication. So make sure if you ever use this, you have to use it for a limited time only. At number 2, we have diphenhydramine, also known as Benadryl, and if you've been following me for a while, I've been on an anti-Benadryl crusade for a lot of reasons. Here's just a quick summary of it. It's a first-generation antihistamine that can easily cross the blood-brain barrier, can make people very sleepy, and up to about 10 to 15% can have a paradoxical effect where they can get really agitated and hyperactive. This medicine also has anticholinergic effects, so you can feel really dry and have urinary retention with it, but also because of that anticholinergic effect, there's an association with long-term Benadryl use and developing dementia. So you have to be very careful with this, and we have safe alternatives that are second-generation antihistamines such as Zyrtec, Xyzal, Claritin, and Allegra that work just about as well and actually last longer than Benadryl. Now, one of the worst medications that you can get to treat allergies that you do not need a prescription for is phenylephrine, which is an oral decongestant. Phenylephrine became more popular over the counter after pseudoephedrine, which is a much more effective drug, was put behind the counter to help control the amount of use that was given to the general public because it could be made into an illicit substance. And so phenylephrine has been shown over time that it doesn't really work. And so later next month in April, the FDA is going to look at this medication again to decide if it's even going to be used anymore. It might end up being pulled because there's not a lot of good evidence that it actually works. In future videos, I'll talk about more effective medications to help treat allergies, so feel free to follow to learn more.
If you know anyone who suffers from allergies and you feel that this information would be beneficial, or you didn't have pen and paper out, make sure you go back to this part, rewind it just a little bit, and create a list and keep yourself safe. And as always, talk to your medical professionals. And once again, thank you for joining me for Conversations with Taz for the Monday Mix-Up. And once again, make sure you subscribe to this channel, click the bell so that you're updated on all videos, and check the links in the description of this video. And I'm going to leave you with this last little snippet. Until tomorrow.
In the heats, she's way back on the inside, of course, on this one. We watched the United States on that first handover. Briscoe to Henderson, down that back straight. Got it down.